Prior to commencing, we strongly advise viewer discretion. The following content is intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. This is the exact federal courtroom testimony from the trial of Sean Diddy Combs as reported by Inner City Press. On the third day of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial, media attention was already intense, but no one anticipated the subsequent events. In a remarkable turn of events, the prosecution presented an unprecedented audio recording made by Prince just weeks before his passing. The voice of the late music icon resonated throughout the courtroom, calm yet filled with a haunting quality. As Prince identified individuals, recounted private gatherings, and elaborated on what he claimed to have observed behind Diddy's closed doors, the atmosphere in the room became tense. However, it was Diddy's response that altered the course of the proceedings. His meticulously crafted image disintegrated before the jurors as he erupted in a fit of rage, prompting the judge to threaten him with contempt. This was not mere speculation or social media gossip. This constituted sworn evidence. From that moment onward, the dynamics of the trial irrevocably changed. The implications of Prince's statements and his clandestine recording could potentially serve as the critical testimony that leads to a significant downfall. The morning of the third day commenced similarly to the previous two, yet an unmistakable difference permeated the room. The atmosphere was charged with a heightened sense of anticipation. The legal teams exhibited a level of urgency not previously observed. Reporters hurriedly sought seating, their body language reflecting a new tension. Some court personnel were even overheard remarking, "Today is going to be detrimental for someone." No one could have foreseen just how accurate that statement would prove to be. Diddy entered the courtroom as he had each morning, donning a sharply tailored navy suit. With his signature smirk barely visible at the corners of his mouth, but he acknowledged the gallery with a nod. His legal team maintained their composure, engaging in quiet discussions, exchanging documents, and keeping their eyes fixed ahead. Everything appeared to be proceeding as normal until a subtle change occurred near the prosecution's table. Two technical experts discreetly entered with equipment that had not been present in previous sessions. A small black audio device, a laptop, and various wires. One of the specialists subtly nodded to the lead prosecutor, who averted his gaze from Diddy, focusing instead on the table. A shift had taken place. Initially, Diddy remained unaware, appearing relaxed and even self-assured. However, those observing closely sensed that something significant was imminent. The judge entered the courtroom and made an unusual announcement, stating that the evidence presented today might provoke strong reactions and emphasizing the need for complete composure. His glance towards Diddy as he spoke did not go unnoticed. Then came the pivotal moment that transformed a criminal trial into a landmark occasion. The prosecution sought to introduce what they termed critical new audio evidence. The defense immediately reacted, objecting on the grounds that they had not been informed of any new exhibits. A murmur spread through the courtroom as Diddy's lead attorney rose to argue for the exclusion of the evidence, accusing the prosecution of unfair tactics. However, the judge had already reviewed the disclosure paperwork. The submission was conducted in accordance with legal protocols. The judge's decision resonated heavily. The evidence may be presented. At that moment, the prosecutor uttered words that struck like a lightning bolt. "You are about to listen to the final private recording made by Prince Rogers Nelson." The courtroom fell silent. All mobile devices were placed in laps. Every journalist's fingers hovered over their keyboards. Even Diddy appeared perplexed, glancing at his attorneys with wide eyes as if to inquire, "What is happening?" The prosecutor then connected the device and pressed play. The voice that filled the courtroom was not the confident, flamboyant Prince known to the world. It was subdued, low, and anxious. "I am making this recording because I no longer know whom I can trust," Prince began. The tone sent shivers down the spines of all present. This was not a performance, it was a confession. In the recording, Prince recounted attending private gatherings hosted by Diddy at locations in Miami, the Hamptons, and Los Angeles. He detailed what he witnessed in disturbing clarity. Young artists being isolated from their managers, encouraged to consume alcohol and take pills, private rooms with locked doors, hidden cameras, and no security personnel permitted inside. This mirrored the exact pattern described by Cassie Ventura during her initial 2 days on the witness stand. Prince was explicit, naming individuals and citing specific dates, including a party in Beverly Hills in December 2015. He recounted behaviors that aligned almost verbatim with previous witness accounts. However, what distinguished this moment was that Prince spoke with full awareness of the implications of his words. "If something happens to me," he stated, "this recording must be delivered to the press or the police, either one." As Prince's voice resonated, Diddy's body language transformed completely, his eyes narrowed, and his mouth twitched. He ceased his quiet conversation with his legal team and leaned forward, slightly hunched. His complexion was pale. The jurors began to observe him as intently as they listened to the recording. Then Prince made a statement that resonated throughout the room. "These are not merely parties. They are traps." The silence was so profound that one could hear Prince's breath between his words. In the back row, a woman was visibly in tears, while in the front row, a reporter dropped her pen. Diddy's attorney placed a reassuring hand on his client's arm, attempting to soothe him, but Diddy recoiled. Prince went on to explain that he had cautioned Diddy about his observations, recounting an encounter during an afterparty in 2016 where he urged that the exploitation of young artists and guests must cease. Prince asserted that Diddy had laughed and remarked, "You may be Prince, but you are not untouchable." That statement struck the courtroom with the force of a gunshot. Diddy's lips moved as he whispered something to his team. One of his attorneys seized a yellow legal pad and began to write rapidly while another turned to the judge, seemingly awaiting permission to object. However, there was nothing to contest. The damage was unfolding in real time. Just as the courtroom reached its peak tension, with Prince's composed yet incriminating statements continuing in relentless detail, Diddy erupted. The recording had transitioned to recount another event, this one from March 2016, involving several celebrities and a troubling incident that occurred upstairs. As Prince mentioned the address, a location already cited in the prosecution's forensic timeline, Diddy could no longer contain himself. "That is a falsehood," he exclaimed, rising abruptly. His voice reverberated against the courtroom walls, startling even the bailiffs. The response was immediate. Security personnel rushed forward. His attorneys stood up, attempting to pull him back into his seat. One lawyer whispered urgently, "Sit down." However, Diddy's voice escalated once more. He was not even present. That never took place. The judge pounded his gavel repeatedly. "Mr. Combs, maintain your composure or I will hold you in contempt." The courtroom descended into chaos. Jurors exchanged astonished looks, with two appearing visibly shaken. A court sketch artist later informed reporters that she had to erase and redraw Diddy's likeness 3 times due to the drastic changes in his expression during the outburst. The judge managed to restore order and instructed the prosecution to halt the tape. Diddy's breathing became labored and his hands shook on the defense table. The image of the billionaire mogul, the unflappable icon, had vanished. In its stead sat a man who appeared panicked, trapped, and disintegrating before the jury. For the prosecution, this was no mere coincidence. Court insiders later confirmed what many had suspected: they had strategically timed this tape. After days of gradual buildup, minor testimonies, and methodical cross-examinations, they selected this moment on the 3rd day, believing it would be when Diddy's defenses were at their weakest. Ultimately, the situation reached a conclusion and it proved effective. He presented the jury with all the necessary evidence. Emotions such as anger, guilt, and a sense of losing control were conveyed without any cross-examination. Moreover, Prince's voice had not yet concluded. Following a short recess to restore order in the courtroom, the judge directed the prosecution to continue the playback of the Prince's recording. However, by that time, the atmosphere had shifted entirely. There were no whispers, no typing, even the court sketch artist had ceased their work. Every gaze was fixed on the courtroom speakers. The voice of a deceased individual now dominated the most influential space in entertainment law. Prince's voice resumed, detailing what he referred to as a systematic manipulation he had personally witnessed. He articulated his thoughts deliberately, selecting his words carefully as if he understood that his message might never be heard again if the worst were to occur. "What I have observed is not something one can easily forget," he stated. "They present it as glamorous, yet I have seen it destroy lives." He mentioned gatherings held at Diddy's private residences, providing not merely vague memories but precise details, including room layouts and guest names.